Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to What You Gotta Stay. And it is Freestyle Friday. Happy Friday. Yay! So we're going to let the freestyle begin. And of course, my co-host for today is none other than comedian Sandy Hackett. Now, we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to do it right after this break. So grab it, come on back. Make sure you're back before 2 seconds are up.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
And welcome back to What You Gotta Say. For those of you on Roku, YouTube, Facebook, and what's that other channel? Oh, yeah, Comcast, servicing Philadelphia to South Jersey. Welcome to the show. Now, it's Freestyle Friday, and my co-host today, as I mentioned before, none other than comedian extraordinaire, Sandy Hackett. Sandy!
Hey, Vincent, a lot of pressure you put on me, comedian extraordinaire, because now you make me not only funny, but French.
Yes, but are people slapping you at your show?
No one has done that yet.
Okay.
Not in live to talk about it.
Yeah. So, we've been covering the war since you've been doing Freestyle Fridays.
Absolutely.
Now, they just showed the footage yesterday of 2 days ago they showed the footage after Russia left or they liberated the area from Russia and picking up the dead bodies. And one of the things that they showed was somebody lying dead next to a bike. Yesterday, her daughter recognized her and said that that was my mother, a woman who had a horrible life but made the best of it, decided at her late age that she was going to start living her life the way she wanted to. And I mean, this was the first time, before the war was the first time she ever used makeup. Feeling really good, got a manicure with a heart on it and love, and that was her symbol for her new take on life. And that's how her daughter identified her, by her hand and that manicure. But I mean, Sandy, why are we not doing more to help?
We talked about this before. Our choices, when you have an opponent who threatens nuclear, although a lot of people say, I don't really believe he'll do it because once we go nuclear, everybody's putting them out there. We're going to destroy everything. But the problem is it's still a threat, and there's no stopping this guy. I mean, you're watching all this news and stuff like that. The tragedy just keeps unfolding, and yet Russia wants to go out there and say, "Oh, these are bodies of actors, and this has all been done by the Ukrainians, and none of this is real." And they want to try to perpetrate that fraud upon the rest of the world, as if this didn't happen, and the story that you're talking about is some sort of movie and makeup and stuff like that. And it's horrifying. And the reason we can't do more is because it'll just get global. It'll go bigger. Right now it's in Ukraine. We're sending arms and armaments and money, and things are pouring in. Yet today they're saying we need more because the Russians left the Kyiv and they're going to the Donbass region. And in order to keep that from, the Russians from taking that over, the Ukrainians are asking for even more. And they said, not in 2 weeks. We need it now. So, and again, if you're a parent living in the United States or in any of these other countries, you go, I don't want to send my son. I'll send money. I'll send supplies. We should send weapons, but I don't want to send my kids. I don't want them to be, part of that war. I don't want to send my kid to war. I don't want war. I don't want the war that's going on. Neither do the Ukrainians. And neither do the Russian people. Only Putin wants to go in and exercise his options there. But it's terrible.
Okay, so Putin's got nukes, and nobody's doing anything because of the nukes. So basically, Putin just made us his Mitch.
No, he didn't, because if he uses them and we use them, we all blow each other up, and then there's nothing, and there's no world and no planet, and the air catches fire, and we incinerate everything. So we let the skirmish or the war be where it is within the confines of Ukraine. And look, this thing could spill over at any time. He's already threatened the other little countries around him. If you join NATO, or if you help, or if you send arms, I'll come and get you too. But he's in a very weakened position now. And now he's starting to, be a bully and just say, oh, if you do that, I'm going to. But we're getting to him. And look, even the highest level of United States command never thought that Ukraine would last this long, let alone kick Putin's ass the way they have.
The way they have, yeah. We found out that the Russian bear is really just a baby cub now.
Well, he underestimated the Russian people and believed the stuff that he was telling himself, or that other people telling him, that there's a lot of Russians in Ukraine and they will embrace us coming to liberate them. This is a total fabrication.
Well, I guess he's been reading the wrong tea leaves.
Absolutely.
Well, it definitely gambled wrong. In fact, General Milley just put out that he believes that this is the end of Putin. If Ukraine continues to fight with the tenacity that they're doing right now, and if those other countries that Putin has been threatening join in, because believe me, after Ukrainian, they're next. If they don't, if they join in, they can push this right back to Russia. In fact, they can take the other cities that Putin had annexed.
Yes, they can. The only problem in this is it's a war in Ukraine against Putin sending his troops to Ukraine, but it's not a war against Russia, because the Russian citizens have been duped. And those that they're saying right now, 80% believe in Putin because they only know what they've been told. They don't know the truth. But if when Ukraine bombed, they had that last week, the helicopters bombed that fuel depot across the border. That was the first attack back at, but it was a military target to keep them from being able to attack. And but we don't want Ukraine or to go into Russia and start to attack the Russian people the way the Russian soldiers have been attacking the Ukrainians, because even the Ukrainians, they don't want to do that. They just want Russia out.
Yeah. Well, here now we've put sanctions on Russia products, 160 major corporations, close to 80,000 corporations altogether have left now, and we're feeling this sanction at the gas pumps. Yet the EU, 90% of their petroleum products come from Russia. If we can sacrifice, how come they can't?
It's very political. It's very financial oriented. They haven't been prepared to bite the bullet yet and go. But apparently, a couple of and I forget what the first little country was that said, we're not, then they were getting 25 or 26% of their oil from Russia and gas. And they said, we're cutting them off. We're not doing that. And Biden announced new sanctions the other day. I don't exactly understand what they were, but this thing is getting very aggressive. And as the Ukrainians have been able to push them back and get them out of Kyiv and turn them to put their forces in one area, they've got to reorganize. They've got to, they're already finally admitting to, we've suffered very heavy losses. And, we've got to help Ukraine defend itself. And look, however long this takes, days, weeks, months, probably, maybe up to a year. And then we're going to have to go in and rebuild Ukraine and turn it into the beautiful country that it was. And that's going to take money. But we can't afford not to do that, because Russia sits right at the border going, as soon as Russia recovers, they'll want to go do that again. And we don't know. Look, Putin's not going to be around forever, but who's going to be the next Putin? Is it going to be a Putin guy that's going to go, I want to do what Putin was doing? Or is it going to be somebody with a level head on their shoulders, go, let's be Russia and we'll let Ukraine be Ukraine and let's be part of the world order and, achieve something instead of trying to go take what isn't ours?
So do we get another dictator, or do they get somebody like Gorbachev?
How about if we get something like Alexei Navalny? He's in prison at the moment.
There you go.
But does he come out?
Well, yeah. If they actually attack Russia, yeah, and defeat and somebody assassinates Putin, yeah, I think that someone would. The first thing, if they had any sense to gain the respect and love of their fellow Russians or countrymen, they should right those wrongs, release all those political prisoners, and build it back better.
Well,
I think that
that's a wish list, and I'd love to see that happen. At the moment, it doesn't look like we're headed, but that's certainly where I'd like to see the carrot dangled out there and see us grab that carrot.
Good point. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about newly appointed Supreme Court Justice,
Yes,
Jackson. Yes.
Absolutely. What a
I'm
wonderful
glad
day.
Sandy's great. We'll be right back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
And welcome back to What You Gotta Say. I'm Vincent Squire with my co-host, none other than Sandy Hackett.
Hello,
Sandy.
Coach. Yes, sir. We're here.
So, yesterday, at a vote of 53 to 47, our Senate had confirmed by the first African American woman to the Supreme Court justice. The best thing about it is that she was confirmed by the first African American vice president. Is this a monumentous day in history?
Absolutely. How could it not be? It's a first across the board. I mean, how do you, first of all, you're Black. How do you not take great pride in this? This woman handled herself in this, the inquisition of the Republican senators trying to embarrass her and pretend she was something that she wasn't. And it was dreadful and awful and horrifying to see them, with their agenda, and she may be one of the most qualified candidates ever, let alone that she's eminently qualified for this position. But out of 115 justices over the life of the Supreme Court, she's probably in the top 15, maybe in the top 10.
Well, definitely in terms of qualifications, because earlier the Supreme Court justices weren't based on qualifications, it was their political affiliation.
Well, there's been both. I mean, if you go all the way back to, now my history eludes me, but the first Black judge was,
Clarence Thomas?
No, long before Clarence.
I was going to tell you, Thurgood Marshall.
There you go. Thurgood Marshall was, they said one of the best, maybe one of the most well-respected and deserving of to be on the Supreme Court of anybody. He was immensely, talented and bright and articulate and one of the best.
Okay, now this is where the United States acted like the Yankees. Thurgood Marshall was undefeated going up against the Supreme Court. So to stop that from happening, they gave him a government job.
In fact, before that job, he was the Solicitor General, who was the attorney that represented the United States in the Supreme Court against other oncoming opponents.
Brown versus Board of Education,
right.
Landmark, where he basically used the principle of America's great love and fascination with the unions and supporting their guidelines for saying that, separate is not equal.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and then we got Clarence Thomas, and nobody Black considers Clarence Thomas a Black Supreme Court justice. Let's face it, that's it. I mean,
you're Black and you can say that. I can't, but because there would be some sort of retribution somewhere by somebody. But, honestly, he hasn't done the right things that he's supposed to do. He should make decisions based on the law. He's made decisions based on his political point of view and way over to the right. And then his wife influencing him. And we talked about this last week. He should be, what?
Because he's whipped. So he didn't make any decisions. His wife did.
Well, I have a friend of mine who's a comedian who said he asked a couple one time who had been married 50 years, what do you attribute your success to? And he says, well, when we got married, I told my wife, look, you handle all the little decisions. I'll handle all the big decisions. And I said to him, so what are some of the big decisions that have come along in your life? And he says, well, we haven't had any of those yet.
Well, this is what I don't like about Clarence Thomas. Here he is appointed to the position, stepping in the shoes or being in the spotlight or following the model of Thurgood Marshall, who was a huge influence. And I'm sure with his history being a civil rights advocate that he gave all of those white justices he definitely gave them a fight in terms of his decision. So Clarence Thomas gets in there and he exhibits everything in Black mediocrity that I can't stand. All he did was, stay low, stay quiet, and vote whatever the crowd says. No decisions, nothing that he did or voted on had any point of significance or moving the needle or progressing things like civil rights, redlining, injustice, worker discrimination. Not one decision that he made
That's terrible, and it's embarrassing as a race, as a people, as a judge, as a justice. It's
As
just,
a man.
absolutely.
And then we have Katanji, who, oh, by the way, I looked up Katanji and what it means. It's the female version, and the translation is rich. But when she was in high school and had to talk to her high school guidance counselor and told her that she wanted to go to Ivy League and study law, you know what her counselor told her?
No, what?
He said, maybe you shouldn't dream so big.
That's terrible. And luckily she didn't listen to her. Some counselor.
Oh, that woman. Could you imagine a counselor like that when you're calling suicide prevention? Hello, I'm thinking about killing myself. Are you using poison or are you jumping off a roof? I mean, come on.
Well, now you're going to get me doing jokes that you probably don't want to hear, so we'll just stay away from those.
Oh, what? Hey, you have a comedian who hasn't been slapped. You can do a joke. I mean, come on.
But there's a large contingency of people out there very traumatized by suicide. They've lost someone, and they don't want to hear jokes about it. And I choose not to offend them because losing someone to that is terrible. But what you're saying about that counselor, saying maybe you shouldn't reach so high, that's not the American dream. The American dream is reaching for as high as you possibly can, thinking and then making it happen.
Of course, giving a child an opportunity to, telling them that they can be whatever they want and do whatever they want, expressing to them that the world is theirs, no matter what, your color, race, or sex, or religion, or name for that matter, or hair. All of the things in which 20 years ago, if she was a nominee for the Supreme Court, the American public would just shudder. Yet she persevered. In fact, I'm not a big Cory Booker fan, but he did say one thing that I like. He said, "You are like Ginger Rogers, who said that I did everything Fred Astaire did, except for I did it backwards, wearing heels."
Right. But why aren't you a Cory Booker fan? Why
am I not a Cory Booker fan? That's a whole nother show, brother. A whole nother show. And it's coming soon.
All right. I'm going to have to do some research on him because, I'm not in that state. And although that's where I was born or grew up when I was little, but I look forward to, at least he supported Ketanji and or Justice Jackson. And I think she's going to be wonderful. And, already the Republicans are coming out and McConnell's saying, when we take over, there won't be any more, we won't okay any more justices, or we're not going to, the Congress is just clogged up with what do they want to get done? It takes this war for them to agree on anything. Oh, we are going to help. And then there's still, some stragglers going, I don't think we should help them. I don't think we should advance aid. I don't think we should this. And, there's 8, 9, 10 of, congressmen. And they go, well, what are you people? And I don't understand those people that think, oh, well, if we just let that go, they don't understand that Russia's just would keep going through Ukraine, onto Poland and Czechoslovakia and all the Slovakia and all the little countries. And then, you'd be at World War III quicker than you could count.
Okay, what is there to debate about? If you're not sending American troops, or as they like to say, boots on the ground, then you don't have that much of a loss. Everything that they're sending them is American surplus. Surplus.
Right.
Outdated. We don't use it anymore. So,
and even if we do, it still creates an industry where they're making more weapons, and it puts people to work and Americans to work and stuff like that. And look, to me, there is no humor in this war, and yet there are some things that you go, well, Russia can't. They can't rearm their weapons or their tanks. So why? Because all their stuff is made in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. War is not funny, but I got to laugh at that going, what? Why you think it's not working? Well, because the parts are made in Ukraine, and we can't, and they're not taking our phone calls.
Oh, so did you see the confirmation?
Did I see the confirmation? No, I didn't watch it, but I listened.
Okay, so I watched it. After the vote, the Republicans got out of there so freaking fast.
Oh, that I saw.
Yeah, it was like being in a slumlord apartment where you turn on the lights and all the roaches scatter. I mean, that's what it was like. And of course, Karen had to put her 2 cents in it. Karen, meaning the Karen of the United States Senate, better known as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, she's not a senator. She's a congresswoman.
I mean, Congresswoman. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that one. Yeah, well, Georgia U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene had labeled 3 of the fellow Republicans who voted to confirm Judge Jackson appointment to the Supreme Court as pro-pedophile. She said that Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Mitt Romney of Utah, they all joined the Democrats, and they're all in favor of being of pedophiles or in favor of kid porn. I mean, can you believe that statement? I mean, look, where the hell is Will Smith when you need him?
Well, we shouldn't be surprised by anything she says anymore. We just, every time she speaks, she puts her foot in her mouth. She offends, half the country or more. She's an idiot. She's a moron. And, Jimmy Kimmel's doing jokes about her. She reports Jimmy Kimmel to the Capitol Police as if they have some sort of branch over there in Hollywood, and they're going to go after Jimmy in L.A. She's despicable, and I hope her constituents, the people that voted her, look at what they did and go, we made a mistake on that one.
They did. In fact, the committee that got her elected had now picked somebody else to primary against her.
Good. Good. Her and Boebert from Colorado and Josh Hawley, that slimy guy who wanted to tell Judge Jackson that he that she was light on sentencing of pedophile. It's just terrible. It's awful.
Oh man, listen. And then what really got me about those hearings, 19 hours of it, and watching the 19 hours of it, I could not have been more disgusted when Senator Ted Cruz opened his mouth.
But he's laughable because he makes such a fool out of himself so frequently, and it's so overt what for a guy who went to Harvard, you go, really? They let you in? I mean, the stuff he does,
Who filled out your entrance exam?
Must have been somebody else who thought they were doing him a favor and didn't realize what he was going to turn out to become. But he's horrifying. And then after he does his whole stunt, he's looking on his phone to see, am I trending?
Oh God! Listen, look, I lost all respect for him after Trump said all those vile things about his wife. Now, you can talk about my wife, but there's a threshold. There's a line that you don't cross when you talk about my wife. Now, what Trump said about his wife, no, that's crossing the line. I don't care, presidential candidate or not. Right behind this bandstand, it's me and you. I mean, and not only did he take that, but then he turned around and begged Trump for his support for his reelection.
Well, that just shows his character, which he doesn't have any.
Yeah, the street term for that is called Mitch.
And look, in politics, I don't think you should go after a guy's wife or his kids or his family until they do something to get to the point when Trump makes his family part of the White House senior staff, then you go, okay, you're now now it's open season. Now you're part of the administration. You've been put in a position where you have some say now, but when anybody used to pick on Hillary and Bill's daughter, for what? What did she do?
Nothing. She had a cat.
Right. Why does that kid deserve any of that? And luckily, I think with Obama, really they left his daughters alone, which they should have. And when Bush was in office, his daughters were, pretty much left alone. I don't remember any scandalous, terrible things of people attacking them. People attacking them.
Oh yeah. They went after. What was her name? Jenna.
Yeah, for
drunk driving, usual kid stuff.
Well, but drunk driving is pretty major.
Oh yeah, it is pretty major. Drug use.
Well, and when he was in the White House.
Yeah.
Well,
this is after they passed the law about using drugs in a government in a government house or facility or government housing unit, and then everybody said, "Well, your daughter's doing drugs, and the White House is government owned." So
yes, and I'm not defending it at all, but you've got a parent-daughter.
Right.
And that's tough for those of us that are parents to control everything that goes on, and we don't want those things to happen. I mean, who was it? Was it Jimmy Carter who had the drunk brother?
Billy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the president to be held responsible for that? I mean, a parent can only take so much responsibility for their kids. You raise them up, and you go, I'm trying to do everything I can, but attacking like Trump did was
wrong.
That's just wrong.
It is. I agree. And
but then last week I was attacking what's his name's wife, Clarence Thomas's wife, Jenny, for doing stuff she shouldn't. And, I'm sorry, but you put yourself out there, you're tweeting and you're in text to the White House in the middle of an insurrection. And I go, now you're part of the problem.
Right.
So you deserve anything that comes.
Rather than being part of the solution.
That's right.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But we're going to take a break, and I'm with comedian Sandy Hackett. This is Freestyle Friday, everybody. So, yay! Now, we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about something near and dear that everybody's experiencing. Post-traumatic stress and signs of hypervigilance, and what some celebrities are actually coming forward to talk about. I'll be right back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Vincent Squire, and this is what you got to say with comedian extraordinaire Sandy Hackett. Sandy, so the Academy Board decided to ban Will Smith for slapping Chris Rock for 10 years.
Yes, and they banned his movies from theaters for 8 years.
Wow.
I made that up. That's a lie. I'm just going for the joke here. You can't come to the Academy and no one has to watch your films for 10 years.
Yeah. If anything, they should have banned Wild Wild West. That's
Well, look, banning them from the Academy is one thing. That's their prerogative, and we can all have our opinions about it. But there's there are things coming out saying, well, he had this project and that project, and this has been delayed, that's been canceled. And look, I think Will made a mistake. I think Will would be, would say he made a mistake. But you cancel a guy and take away his ability to entertain and make a living. Ultimately, the public decides, because if you make the movie and then nobody goes to see the movie, then you wasted all that money. So what he did was impactful, and he hurt himself. He shot himself in the foot.
He did. But 10 years, I mean, what did they do for Harvey? I mean, Harvey sparked the whole Me Too movement.
I don't know what they did for him. Is he still part of the Academy?
Yes. Although he can't go to any of the meetings because he's in jail, but he's still part of the Academy.
Well, I think he's, look, he got canceled in many other ways. He's not making films. He can't greenlight a project. His company is shut down. So, so you're going to say, oh, and you can't come to an Academy Award, or was he going anyway? Okay, can you let me out of prison for this weekend? It's the Academy Awards. I want to go.
Oh, yeah. Can I get a weekend pass?
Right.
Yeah, that's when they lock up all their daughters. So, hold it. They didn't ban John Wayne.
But that's a different time. And it's unfortunate because, it comes to fruition that John was a racist and a bigot. And, in those days, you let it go. And
in those days, he was a hero.
Right.
Oh, you're a racist, bigot, misogynistic butthole? You're right. My hero, John.
Right. But they kept that quiet. It gets out now, but they weren't saying, and coming to theaters, John Wayne, the racist bigot, in his newest movie. They didn't advertise it that way. But, that stuff gets out.
Yeah. Well, let's see. For those of you who don't know the John Wayne story, because they did, Sandy is right, they did keep it quiet. Marlon Brando, nominated for an Academy Award, did win. And he had this beautiful woman who was a Native American. For those of you who aren't politically correct, American Indian. And to do his acceptance speech. Well, when she got on the stage, John Wayne became livid and started a drunken rant and started to charge the stage, knocking down everyone who was in his way. They went to quick commercial and wrestled him down. Yet that act was never fined, never issued a warning, never suspended. They didn't cancel his movies, nor did they suspend him for 10 years. They didn't even suspend him for 10 minutes. They basically gave him a drink and told him to sit down.
And named an airport after him in Orange County.
Yeah. Yes, a county that used to be populated by Native Americans.
Right, and so now that airport, you can only fly in there if you're white.
Yes, I think all of them should change their name, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Would you say her new name should be?
Marjorie Taylor White Supremacist.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't believe it. But we are now. Oh, Elections are heating up. We're coming into the primary season. So you see now a whole new group of people preaching the Trump rhetoric. In Pennsylvania, Dr. Oz, who keeps saying on his show is that, he's upset because Biden fired him and Dr. Fauci should have been the one that got fired.
But but Fauci is in charge of something. Oz was on a board that he got fired from, and they asked him to step down, and he went no. So Biden got rid of him, but he refutes common sense and science. Oz, he's out there, on I don't know where he is, making up his own medicine.
Well, he supported hydrochloroquine. I mean, come on.
And you know what? That's absolutely fine with me. You take it first. have lots of it. Have a hydrochloroquine cake. Just ingest as much of that shit as you can, and then go back to Oz. They also did a big study. Harvard released ivermectin does nothing. But the people went, I took ivermectin. Okay, well, you pretty much put Vaseline on your lips and expected COVID to go away.
Ivermectin is an actual dewormer that's only effective if you catch river worms. It's for horses and cattle.
Have you seen some of the Republicans? I mean, not to be mean, bullshit, to be mean. Shouldn't Jenny Thomas be taking ivermectin? I mean, remember Star Trek where they put that thing in their ear, the little bug that went in their ear, and then made them listen to commands, and they were going to be controlled. I mean, that's what Jenny Thomas has in her. She's being controlled by the QAnon, and buying into all that bullshit. Someone has to look. Will Smith had the right idea, but the wrong place and the wrong person.
That's what I'm talking about.
He should be out there smacking QAnon people. Then he'd still be a member of the Academy. He would still be able to make films, and most of America would still love him instead of being pissed off at him.
We could just line all the people up, and Will Smith can smack them. We probably vote for him for president. I mean, really.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right.
Wait, now before this segment started, you said we were going to talk about PTSD, and here we are talking about this other stuff, which is fine. But what happened to PTSD?
Well, okay, to be honest with you, a lot of people are dealing with the Will Smith incident as a way of and showing signs of PTSD. Truly traumatized from it. Chris Rock couldn't even do his stand-up once a guy started heckling him. I mean, yeah. Also, celebrity, including some A-listers, have started talking about dealing with the signs of post-pandemic, even though we're truly not through the pandemic, because we can't seem to get all these idiots vaccinated. Excuse me.
By the way, I just got my 4th vaccination today.
My schedule, I'm taking mine Thursday.
Yeah, and I went to a Republican a GOP medical facility, and it wasn't an injection. They just blew smoke up my ass. And said, you're good to go.
You're good to go. It's going away. It's going away. It's a Democratic hoax.
Well, look, I mean, I haven't read anything about the post-traumatic stuff you're talking about. And if that has to do with Will or Chris or COVID, I understand. The Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, I don't. If you're watching this war and you're post-traumatic, watching this stuff and the terrible, horrible things that the Russians are doing to the Ukrainians, then I certainly understand. It
is. In fact, Carmela Caballero and Kendall Jenner had opened up on their podcast And I think it's what you said, Sandy. It's a combination of everything. Everything is happening to a lot of people, and they have been showing signs of hypervigilance, which is one of the actual states of PTSD. And they've actually said that they have now started seeking counsel and counselors. So, I
Well,
mean,
look, you do what you got to do, and if you look, it's very. I don't sleep at night watching this stuff with the war. And listening to these things, and as the Russians are pulling out, they're saying, bodies are with their hands bound behind their back and shot in the head and the face, and it's not enough that you bomb them and kill them and take their food, but you want to, with they're absolutely defenseless civilians, and you want to go out and kill them, and it's terrible. And then you have that piece of shit governor in Florida, DeSantis, who with this LGBT, anti-gay, don't say gay stuff. And he's just a reckless guy. And, Will could have gone and smacked him and made a lot of points. Disney would have, kept him working for the rest of his career.
yeah. Well, not only did they say that they're withdrawing, but after they said that they're withdrawing, they ended up bombing a train, civilian train.
Well, and not only a civilian train, but it's the only way out of the Donbass region. So, Zelensky's telling everybody, leave, get out, let the soldiers handle, let the army, let the military handle this and get out. And you go, the only way out, the Russians bombed. No, we want you in there so we can inflict more pain, more damage, kill more people, do more war crimes, and just be what we are. And it's not the Russian people, it's Putin and the people following his orders.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're going to take a break, and I'm with my co-host Freestyle Friday, and my co-host, none other than the great Sandy Hackett. We'll be right back, people, in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church. Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church.
And welcome back to What You Gotta Say. This is Freestyle Friday, and I've got comedian Sandy Hackett. Sandy,
What?
where can people find you?
I'm in my house. I'm not giving the address out. Hey, I tour, and I don't know if anybody's watching, but not only do I do stand-up, and I do corporate events and private events and parties, and I do a lot of birthday parties. For some reason, I get called for a lot of birthday parties. My husband's going to be 60, my wife's going to be 65. Can you come and do some stuff? So I do that kind of stuff, and you can find me on my website, sandyhackett.com. I also go out and talk. I'm a heart patient, and I talk about heart health, and happy to come talk to corporations or groups or communities about heart health with a lot of humor in it, some stuff about my dad who also died from heart disease. And then I've got a show about the Rat Pack, Sandy Hackett's Rat Pack show. And we've toured all over the country, done probably 300 cities, 2,000 shows, worked to close to, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million people. I don't even, let's just, 30 million people we did. It was huge. And then I have a show about my father called My Buddy. So, and somehow I have enough time on a Friday afternoon to be here with you because you asked. And for everybody watching, this is how Vincent does business. He is annoyed in the past weeks when I go, where's the link for the Zoom? But today he calls me a half hour before the show and goes, I haven't heard from you. And I said, haven't heard from me for what? He says, you're on the show today. You're on every week. And I said, well, don't you think it would be helpful to tell me?
I told you. Okay, in my head. I distinctly remember having that conversation, and you were so agreeable. Maybe I should do all of my contract negotiations that way.
Maybe you should. Anyway, sandyhackett.com, and if you've got a group you want me to entertain or come talk to about heart disease or bringing laughter to the workplace or just any of this stuff, you question and answer, you want to hear stuff about my dad. Look, I got to get out of the house.
You sound like my wife.
And I don't know Chris Rock. I know a lot of comedians I've been blessed to meet so many guys and wonderful people. I don't know Chris, but Chris was on a show, and I don't know how long ago I saw it. Maybe it's on YouTube or something, talking about people that influenced him when he started. And my dad was one of the people that he mentioned. So to Chris Rock, thank you very much for bringing up my dad's name. I think Chris is brilliant. And by the way, he's on a show called Fargo. You ever seen that?
Yes. Thought. I binge watched that whole series, that whole season.
Me too, and he was wonderful in that. And he's a terrific actor and a terrific talent. And I hope he and Will find a way to cross paths and make up and because I think Will made a mistake, and I don't know Will. So, I don't know. But, with a war going on, and that's a country trying to survive and one trying to oppress them, and it makes what Will did seem pretty small and childish in the grand scheme of things. And I hope there can be healing from it and lessons learned.
Yeah, definitely. So you travel with the Rat Pack. I mean, we got a couple of minutes. What's that like?
Well, when you say travel with the Rat Pack, the real Rat Pack, I knew all the guys, but I never traveled with them. But Joey Bishop, who I play in the show, was Uncle Joey to me. And years ago, when HBO was doing a movie about the Rat Pack with Ray Liotta playing Frank Sinatra, I got a call. My phone rang one day, and it was Joey. And I answered the phone. And I said, hello. And it was, hello, Neff. And I said, Uncle Joey, yeah. I said, to what do I owe the pleasure? HBO is doing a movie about the Rat Pack. I think you would be perfect to play me. I said, wow, Uncle Joey, I would be so honored. Wow, thank you so much. Well, what do I do? Who do I call? He says, I don't know. Nobody called me. True story. 1998. At the time, Joey Bishop, the only surviving member of the Rat Pack.
Rat Pack, yeah.
And for the people that are watching and don't know, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford. And
Yeah.
they made a movie, the original Ocean's 11 they made in 1960 with a script that Peter Lawford brought to Sinatra, and he shot it, and they shot it during the day, and at night they did shows in Las Vegas, and they were known as the Rat Pack. So Joey said, I don't know, and they never interviewed him, they never talked to him, they never anything. Then the movie came out and I called, and they said, no, it's already been cast, and the guy who played Joey Bishop was Bobby Slayton, who's a stand-up comedian, did a really nice job. My only thing about the movie is it really wasn't about the Rat Pack. They used the moniker for sales, but really it was a story about how Sinatra helped get Kennedy elected president. They didn't go into the Rat Pack lore and stuff like that. They just used the name. So, but the movie was successful, and you can see it now on YouTube or something like that. It's available. You can rent it or look at it. But that set me on a course to want to create a show about the Rat Pack and to be able to play my friend Joey Bishop, which I did. And the show's been running for a long time. We've toured all over the country. We've been in New Jersey. We've been in Atlantic City. We've been in down in, I don't know where you live in Jersey, but we've been down in, what's the name of the theater with the Count Basie Theater in there along the shore. We've been in Philadelphia. We've been on Bristol Riverside. We've been in so many places. I can't even tell you, all over the country, and it worked for thousands and thousands of people. And it's a terrific show, and it's got all the great music, big band swing. And I produced the show with my wife, whose father, Ron Miller, wrote For Once in My Life, Touch Me in the Morning, If I Could, Yesterday, Yesterday, Someday Christmas, Heaven Help Us All. And my wife is a beautiful singer, a beautiful woman, beautiful singer. And she's in the show, and she plays a character I created called Frank's One Love, based on Frank's relationship with Ava Gardner. So a lot of there are other Rat Pack shows out there that just do stuff about that you watch on the television. It's all the same jokes. You know, Dean picks up Sammy and goes, you know, I'd like to thank the NAACP for this award. And Dean comes down and says, hey, how did all these people get in my room? But we've taken the show and gotten all of the, what I would call the butt tightener jokes out, the racial stuff, because in those days, it was acceptable when they picked on Sammy, and people today don't like that, don't want that. And we've contemporized the comedy, but made it where it works today. And I am the comic in the show and the host. And then we've got actors that play Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis. My wife plays the character Frank's One Love, based on Ava Gardner. And we added my daughter to the show, who does a duet with Dean, based on when Frank Sinatra asked Dean to record a song with his daughter, Nancy Sinatra. So my daughter's now playing Nancy, and they sing things. And the show is fun. It's a lot of laughs. It's great music. And we've toured all over the country, and we're just starting now to come back with dates since COVID, wiped out everybody's schedule in the business, except for Chris Rock, who's out there touring. And God bless Chris. He's a funny bastard. And I look forward to one day when I get to meet him and thank him. And there are a lot of guys that I used to be in this business. You knew everybody. Now I don't. And now some of my friends are passing, guys that I know and love. Bob Saget passed away, and Louis Anderson passed away, and so many others. And now I look, I'm going, wow, I'm at the age where I remember my dad. Do we have to go, Chaz? Was that a time signal? So I'll just tell you this. I'm 65 years old, and I remember my dad was 65, and he says, buddy, you're young, you're middle age. And my father used to say, really? How many people you know? 130.
Alan King said, to be honest with you, when you're 27, you're middle-aged.
That's right. Exactly right. And Alan King was funny as could be when he used to do Survived by His Wife. If you remember that routine. You can look that way. Have you ever seen that routine?
I love that routine.
Yeah. 106 years old. He was in World War I. He was in World War II. He was in the Korean War. He served in Vietnam. Survived by his wife. So
that may be the story of my life. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And you said you got a comment there. I don't know if you want to hear the suicide joke. It's you tell me.
Well, we got 45 seconds. Go ahead.
Phone rings, guy says, suicide prevention. Boy, so you got to help me. So I want to take my own life. What seems to be the problem, sir? I lost my job. My wife hates me. My kids hate me. I have no money. I'm broke. Our house burned down in a fire. And the guy says, well, look, life's not for everybody.
Well, here's one for you. A guy calls a alcohol hotline, and he's on the phone. He's like, I can't take it anymore. This alcohol has caused me to lose my job. I lost my house. I lost my car. My wife left me. My kids hate me. I don't know what. So the counselor says, well, oh my God, that's awful. What are you going to do? He says, I'm going to give this bottle one more chance.
That's right.
That's our show for today. Freestyle Friday with Sandy Hackett. Sandy, you told us where you're going to see you next, so we're going to look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll put it on my calendar.
Okay. Now remember, we got this recorded, so this just didn't happen in my head. Okay.
I will be here. SandyHackett.com.
SandyHackett.com. Find out where he's at and book him for your party. Now, I'm Vincent Squire. It's a wonderful thing to have because laughter can cure a great deal. And America has been going through so much in the last 2 years. It's about time that we start lightening up, having a little more love and a little more laughter. If it's God's will, I'll be with you Monday with the right doctor, Dr. H. Gene Wright, discussing some of the issues about our health. God bless everybody.
Your small business struggled through the pandemic to stay afloat. You need more exposure. Radio and printed ads are good for pet liners. Television commercials are overpriced. Social media ads start cheap, end up expenses. You need an ad team that can get you multimedia exposure. You need MyTV. MyTV will develop a commercial tailored to your business. To get your maximum sales, contact sales@theratemytv.church